All set.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call the Finance Committee of the Rochester City Council to order, and I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Sure. Councilmember Evans.
Present.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot.
Here.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
First item on the agenda is introductory number 377, a local law amending and extending the residential commercial urban exemption program. Questions, comments, or concerns from committee members and then others? I'll entertain a motion.
Move it.
I have
Second.
a question.
It's been moved and seconded. We have a motion on the floor. Questions and
I don't know.
comments? Was that Councilmember Lupien?
Yes.
Yep, go ahead.
So in the answers that we got back from agenda review, it says, let me find it, but basically that without this tax exemption, that these, okay, so the exact language is, these projects always require either government financial support, some tax incentive, or both, and would not be financially viable without assistance. I was wondering what that statement is based on, if there's any data that you could provide us.
So I guess that might be falling into our area. I guess we would have to have developers give you some statistical data. They have demonstrated to us over and over again how their projects would just not pencil out without that. But we could ask them for a more recent update of a current project, and maybe they can pencil that out to demonstrate that.
Yeah, because certainly we don't have the same market we did when we, 10 or even 5 years ago.
Right, and that's why we're asking for it to be amended.
Yeah, certainly the addition of the affordable housing piece is important, but I'm not sure if it stated the AMI, the actual AMI level.
Yeah, I don't recall myself either.
Actually, I'm looking at the item. Yeah, it's in there.
60%?
AMI.
At
Yeah.
or below 60%, yeah. Yeah. My second question is, the projects that are in the pipeline, do we have an estimation of the taxes that we would get if they were not getting the exemption?
No, I don't think we do, because we wouldn't know that till they submitted the application. But keep in mind, I mean, this is the reality of the situations that are current, that are in the works. These projects likely would not have started without anticipation and expectation of the queue. So, these are $40+ million projects like the executive building. That is not going to pencil out or happen without the expectation that, they anticipated getting this exemption.
Yeah, any data or justification you can provide for that would be really helpful. Thank you.
We'll try to get them to submit something.
Anything else on 377? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Any exemptions? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk?
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introductory number 378 is authorizing an agreement for the administration of the Grow Rochester program. I'll entertain any questions or comments on introductory 378 regarding the Grow Rochester program.
Move it.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
The ayes have it. Introductory number 379 is appropriating funds and amending the 21-22 budget for the Kiva Rochester Small Business Loan Program.
Excuse me,
Questions?
Chair Evans.
Oh,
I'd
yes,
like
I'm
to enter
sorry.
this other one into the record. The
Oh, I'm sorry,
clerk
go
will
ahead.
enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
I know, I'm like Speedy Gonzalez.
That's okay.
Introductory number 379, appropriating funds and amending the 21-22 budget for the Kiva Rochester Small Business Loan Program. Questions, comments, concerns?
Just a
Chair
comment.
Evans, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I just would like to say, Chair Evans, that I'm a fan of the Kiva program. Since any program that provides financial support and empowerment for small businesses is a win-win for the local economy. And I know of several businesses who've taken advantage of that in my district. And, just like to say we should continue to support programs and that are outside the box in ways to provide this kind of support. And I'd like to say thank you to the administration for doing a great job and providing this program to our community.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, I just want to second everything my dear colleague said. And the only thing I will add to it is, not only is it a great program, reach in your pocket and put some money in and fund a local business.
Yeah, I echo that. I've donated a bunch to a lot of Kiva programs, Kiva loan recipients over the years. Great program, good to have here in Rochester.
And they pay you back.
They do, and then I just give it away. Anything else on 379?
Move it.
There's a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Madam Clerk?
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introductory number 380 is authorizing an amendatory agreement for special event production services. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any exemptions, abstentions? Madam Clerk?
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introductory number 411 is authorizing an agreement to support future phases of the Raise Commission Mission Project. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
There's a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it.
The clerk will enter.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
That's okay. The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introductory number 414, I'm going to hold. I know that there has been talk about amendments, and I want to make sure that we are able to have ample time to talk about these amendments, get questions and answers on them. And I know that there was also questions about folding in some other language that could be there. Being that this does not take effect until January 1st, this gives us the opportunity to pass this next month and include any amendments based upon the conversations that we will have and getting answers back from budget. So introductory 414, I'm going to hold. With that, we'll move on to introductory number 418, which is authorizing an amendatory agreement to increase the maximum compensation for conflict counsel services. Questions, comments, or concerns on 418?
Move it.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it.
The clerk
Madam
will enter-
Clerk.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That concludes the legislation that is before the Finance Committee meeting for November. If there are not any other items, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. In council, at this time, I call the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Patterson,
Here.
Councilmember Lupian,
Here.
Councilmember Melendez.
He was having trouble with his connection. I'm trying to get him in through his cell phone, but he's not here right now.
Okay, Vice President Lightfoot,
Here.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. So let's get at it, folks. Introductory number 381, authorizing the sale of real estate. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Loopy and seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by President Scott. And now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the item, please say nay. Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 4-0 into the record.
All right. Introductory number 382, authorizing sale of real estate related to the National Susan B. Anthony Museum House. Questions, comments, and concerns? Councilmember Lupian, are you satisfied? Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion in a second.
Councilmember Patterson, I'd like to make a comment if you don't mind.
What, like because you live around the corner? Go ahead, please.
On Cold Street, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I actually am slightly surprised that I thought there were going to be some neighbors who had a couple things they wanted to share. Maybe they're coming to the council meeting. I thought they were going to send a letter. But there is definitely, I know Deborah Hughes is on the call right now. I just want to call it out. There's definitely some concern in the neighborhood that the plan as presented in front of us right now takes a potential Susan B. Anthony House Welcome Center off of West Main Street and over towards the kind of confluence of Jefferson, Brown, and Silver. And I just want to state that Deborah and her team at the museum have done everything that they possibly could to get on West Main Street. And this has been a long time coming, and I completely recognize their need to move. They have people who have really supported this project from all over the country who want to see some movement on it, and I get that. But I also just want to state that I think it is in our best interest as a city to continue to find ways for the Susan B. Anthony House to expand their footprint onto West Main Street. And I don't think this is an either or proposition. I think there are still opportunities. I've spoken with Deborah. I think she thinks there's still opportunities for there to be, for this not to be the end of the growth of the museum. And I'm very hopeful that we'll find a way to make sure that those 15,000 people a year who go to the museum now can double, if not triple, by expanding to more space, bus loops, and the opportunity for people to really have an interactive welcome center. So I'm confident we'll hear people talk on Tuesday night, but I did just want to preempt that. Thank Deborah for her work. Thank the administration for all they've done to try to help this happen. But we still got to get to West Main Street at some point.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns on this item?
Thank you, Councilmember Gruber, Deborah, and the Susan B. Anthony House for all of their work. As you know, has been indicated, we have looked several times at how to get to Main Street. Unfortunately, all of those properties are owned by private individuals who are not interested in selling any of their land at this portion of time. And the law currently does not allow for government to take through eminent domain or any other method properties for a museum. So you can work with state representatives to try and get that changed or some other method. But at this point in time, this is what we can do. And I definitely want to thank Deborah and her team for looking at other options to make sure that this project could go forward and the expansion can start to happen. I agree, a site or being able to come up the middle, some type of way to Main Street is very important. But we also have to recognize that people have a constitutional right to their property. And we need to respect those people that are on Main Street currently and are not willing to sell, but also we don't have the right for eminent domain at this point in time. And you know, we need to look at that as an option in the future and work with the state to either get that rule changed or to create an urban renewal zone that would allow us to do that.
All right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns on this item? All right. Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved by President Scott, seconded by
Second.
Councilmember Luppi. All right, and now we vote on the introductory. All in favor of the item of the introductory, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the introductory, please say nay. Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 383, authorizing a grant agreement and the appropriation of grant funds for environmental investigation and cleanup activities in the Bull's Head area. Questions, comments, or concerns? Councilmember Harris, you good with it? Okay. All right.
Yes, I'm very good with it. I haven't had any feedback. That I'm just excited that we're able to move forward with this for our district.
Very cool. All right. Seeing no other questions, comments, or concerns, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez, seconded by Councilmember Lupien. And now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
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 All opposed to the item, please say nay. Introductory pass.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 384, authorizing a term agreement for relocation services. We do this every couple of years or so, if memory serves me correctly. Questions, comments, or concerns?
I have a question.
Councilmember Lupien.
So with relocation services, this is where the city is helping folks who are losing their living situation because of us, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so I think that I would want to know how good of a job they do, since it's such an important thing and can be really, really stressful for people. So if we've used these folks before, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Is there a way that we can do some kind of reaching out to the folks that they've helped in the past to see how they've done?
Sure. Yeah, we can reach out to past, and certainly you're aware we submitted the satisfaction survey we're going to use going forward. So absolutely, we want to get feedback on all of our processes.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Commissioner, this doesn't just apply to residents that are relocated. It also applies to businesses. Is that true?
That's right.
All right. Seeing no other questions, comments, or concerns, I need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lupien, seconded by
Second.
by Councilmember Melendez. All in favor, now I need a motion, and so I got the motion in a second, and now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
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 All opposed to the item, please say nay. Item passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 385, authorizing a mandatory agreement related to the City Rise Grant Program. Questions, comments, or concerns?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Councilmember Lupien.
From some folks I know in the refugee community, they're really, I don't know what the right word is, but maybe offended at the money being used to create materials to teach people how to be better tenants and take care of their homes. And so, I don't know if we have any data on how what they've done so far has been helpful to the refugee community. But I'd like to kind of dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, we can certainly see what they have in terms of data. I think they have submitted some data previous. Yeah, I certainly understand why that sentiment is felt. It's a difficult conversation. I can just say that based on their lengthy experience in dealing with refugee population, they felt there was need for this. They are intimately, as you know, they're intimately connected to this population and they serve them very well. So, this is something that, they proposed as part of the City Rise grant process and was accepted through a pretty collaborative group we had of identifying ways to spend that money.
Yeah, I think it's further uncomfortable because that agency is not led by someone who has a refugee background. But I certainly hear what you're saying.
All right, and seeing no other questions, comments, concerns, need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez, seconded by
Second.
Vice President Lightfoot. And now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the item, please say nay.
I'm gonna no for now.
Okay. Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 4-1 into the record with Councilmember Lupian voting no.
Introductory number 386, appropriating emergency solution grant coronavirus funds and authorizing agreements for additional services for the homeless and those at risk of homelessness. Questions, comments, and/or concerns? Really? Nothing? Wow. Okay. Seconded, moved by Vice President Lightfoot, seconded by Councilmember Melendez. And now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the item, please say nay. Introductory pass.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 387, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and amending the 2021-22 budget of the Targeted Businesses Revitalization Grant Program. Hooray, hurrah, this is great. That's my question, and that's my comment, and that's my concern. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I have one.
Councilmember Gruber.
Thanks. And I will, maybe not as enthusiastically because I'm not skilled that way, but I will echo Mike's enthusiasm. This is a phenomenal, and not only is it phenomenal moving forward, what the administration did with businesses during COVID was just tremendous. I do have a question though about the process though. I asked specifically about the kind of decision-making apparatus. Is there like a committee within City Hall who's going to ultimately make decisions one way or another, Commissioner?
That's not what we envision, but what we do vision is that, we want to align this very closely with Race Commission recommendations. If it aligns with the Ruby Initiative, we really want to make an impactful difference with these dollars, both this funds and all the other ARPA funds, and do so in a really holistic manner. So, when we talk about buy the block, which we're not talking about this month, but at some point we talk about how we mend all of these efforts to raise a neighborhood and not, piecemeal it, if you will, and just do housing. We're going to do business. We're going to do commercial corridor renovations, mixed use structures and businesses, and really empower residents that aspire to run a business that don't have the resources to take a chance, to be able to take a chance and occupy vacant space. So no, we don't envision having a board, if you will, but it will be equitably distributed.
Got it. Yeah, and I don't doubt that. I guess what I am thinking about though is that there's probably already a number of businesses who have received several of these grants, who have probably received some Monroe County grants, and then on top of that, we're also, I don't know if it just went through or if it's going through next, but there's also the restaurant program that's going to put a lot of dollars into restaurants in some of these very communities. And for me, I assume that it's hard to think through how to do that with parity in mind when there's so many different streams of funding available. I'm wondering what the strategy is for that.
So keep in mind, this is not Berg. This is not a sustaining effort here. This is about growth and revitalizing neighborhoods and vacant spaces, right? So this is about opportunities to start a business, opportunities to expand an existing business. It's not about, helping people sustain. We did that through Berg. The county had a program similar to Berg. The state had a program similar to Berg. Now we're getting to the point where we want to use these dollars to grow the opportunity to operate a business, to take on these vacant storefronts and occupy spaces where people just don't have the ability to do so because they don't have the lending institution access. They don't have, they don't have money in the bank.
Got it. So just for clarity, if a business who maybe received a couple of Berg grants and let's just say a coffee shop received a couple of Berg grants and they can show you matter of factly that they are probably still losing money in the current environment, but they're trying their best just to continue to exist. This grant is not for those folks. They would have to prove some type of expansion or new growth to apply for one of these.
And they would have to meet our objectives, which is low moderate income areas and women and minority businesses will be prioritized.
Got it. Thank you.
Seeing no other que- Oh,
One
Councilmember
question.
Melendez.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to ask, how does this overlay with existing Redco resources? I know that Redco is focused on particular corridors. Will someone be able to receive resources from Redco and look at this as an opportunity if they had a large project, or how would that work?
Yeah, absolutely. And that happens now, Miguel, that, we mend and merge efforts all the time to help and have a compounding impact for a business operator. So yeah, we partner with Redco. We will operate on probably more streets than Redco is focused on, but we will absolutely be partnering with Redco.
Great, thank you.
I have a comment, Councilmember
Go,
Patterson.
Council Vice. Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner, did I hear you correct with saying that this is the Race Commission was kept in mind on this particular introductory, sir?
Yes, not only this, but all of our ARPA.
Right, absolutely. And so I just wanted you to state that again. Thank you, because I think that's very important, especially for our listeners, our viewers, and those who spent countless amount of hours and time with my colleague there, Dr. Gruber, and myself on the Race Commission report, as hearing that a lot of the naysayers that this report was just going to sit on someone's desk and not be moved in any manner. And this is definitely speaking to that was not the case. And I just wanted to commend the administration, the mayor, county executive, my colleague, Mr. Gruber, and all of those who were on the Race Commission, and as well as the administration, because I chaired the Economic Development Committee, the Business Committee, and one of the number one recommendations was access to capital. So when we went around to this community and we asked businesses and when we asked individuals and surveyed individuals in this community, that was their number one concern, that they didn't have access to capital. They didn't have an ability to even start to make their dream a reality. So I think that this speaks to that, and hopefully we can continue to speak to those recommendations. And I want to commend the administration, and I fully support this and all of the other funds that are being used to lift up the Race Commission and that very important work that was done and received by this community. Thank you.
With that, I'm going to move it.
And
Second.
Outstanding. And we've moved by Councilmember Melendez, second by Vice President Lightfoot. And now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
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 All opposed to the item, please say nay. Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 388, amending the zoning map by changing the zoning classification of 35 Shelbourne Road and 20 Elmerston Road. Public hearing to be held at 5 p.m. after the November 4th, 2021 committee meeting. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez, seconded by
Seconded
by President Scott. And now we vote on the item. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
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 All opposed to the item, please say nay.
Nay.
All right, introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 4-1 into the record, with Councilmember Lupien voting no.
Introductory number 389, amending the zoning map by changing the zoning classification of 36 Council Street. Public hearing to be held at 5 p.m. after the November 4th, 2021 committee meeting. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez.
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Lightfoot. And now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
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 All opposed to the item, please say nay.
Nay.
All right. Item
Clerk will-
introductory passes.
Okay, the clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 4-1 into the record with Council Member Lupien voting no.
Introductory number 390, approving appointments to the Rochester Preservation Board. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Lupien, second by Councilmember Melendez. Now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Outstanding. Introductory number 415, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds, amending the 2021 budget and authorizing agreements for the senior meals program. This is fabulous. Glad we're doing this. Question for you, Commissioner, is will you be adding restaurants to this process? How would a new restaurant that didn't participate before participate now?
So yes, we will be we're increasing the number of restaurants. I think we had 26, if I'm not mistaken, in round two. But there'll be 30 in this round, and we'll go through a request for proposal process or request for qualification process. We'll make sure we get out to the business community and make sure everybody's aware, as we did last time, of the opportunity, and hope to have some new people given the opportunity.
Will we be looking at restaurants that are in close proximity to large senior developments for this?
The way that it happened or shook out in the first two rounds was almost everybody that applied was, accepted into the program. We did have a couple of bumps in the road in the first round where some people had a hard time keeping up. But honestly, I don't think it's going to get, it's not a situation where like half the people aren't going to be included. It's people that wanted to be included for the most part, almost all of them were.
Okay. No, the only reason I ask is that we have some rather large senior housing developments in the city, and there are some restaurants that are in close proximity. And I'm just wondering if we're looking at possibly doing some outreach to those restaurants that are in close proximity. Some of them are even co-located in those buildings to see if they have it.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we can. And, but we'll make sure that there's a wide umbrella cast to make sure everybody's aware of the opportunity.
Right.
Chair Patterson, I have a
Yes,
comment.
please.
Okay, I would like to ask that, could you share that information, whether the process and/or the marketing information with all of us as council? I think we could really help in that, because I do know some restaurants that wanted to get in, were not able to get in last time. So I think it'd be also helpful if we as council members could also be helpful in marketing and promoting this in our districts and in our relationships that we have. Some of us have deep relationships within our restaurant community, and so I would just ask that you share that information with council so that we can help in that effort.
Absolutely.
Please.
We appreciate
Thank you.
your help.
Question as well, Mike.
Sure, please go, Councilmember Pio.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Councilmember Patterson. Gary, any restaurants that had already participated, are they fast tracked to be approved for this as well?
No, we're starting from scratch. It does help for, people that have demonstrated capacity, because capacity did become an issue for some in round one. But, most restaurants have it down pat now. So we'll see how it shakes out, but we're starting from scratch, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez, seconded by Councilmember Council Vice President Lightfoot. And now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the item, please say nay. Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 416, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds, amending the 2021 budget and authorizing payments for the housing rehabilitation an emergency assistance to senior homeowners program. Another one of those hooray, hurrah, hooray programs. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Chairman Patterson, I have a question.
Absolutely, Councilmember Harris.
So I know the administration was asked a question about the seniors and how, what would be the process for seniors, and that was answered. I have a follow-up to that question is, what is the age the city is recognizing an individual to be eligible for the homeowners programs as seniors? And is that communicated in the application process?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure if it was in the application, but 62, we'll make sure it is if it wasn't.
Yes, if you could please, that would be super helpful.
The age is 60.
60?
60?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So great question. Follow up on that question is this: why 60 as opposed to 55, which is the eligibility for many of the senior housing programs in the city?
I honestly don't know. Would you prefer it to be 55? I don't think we have a hard, fast line on
Well,
any.
yeah, and I don't think we have a shortage of seniors either. But
If you're 55, then I qualify.
Well, hey, old man, you do what you do, right? I don't think you need the program, so I don't think we got. There's a whole lot of people on council that's right up, bumping up on it, or can see it from here. But
Amen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's room for, conversation. If council feels like we should treat 55 and above as senior, it's, we're under no obligation to establish 60, 62, or 55.
The only reason I say 55 is, quite honestly, that is usually the cutoff for senior housing. So, it's a senior housing program to rehab housing for folks who are aging in place and their owners. Why would we make that cutoff higher than what it would be if they were trying to move into a senior housing? So,
And I also say I think that's national too, Mike. I think that AARP is 55 as well.
yeah, well, they start sending you a card, like
Well, I'm not trying to tell my age, but I think AARP is 55.
They start sending stuff at 50.
Hey,
Well,
watch out now.
we ain't hating though.
No. All right. Well, I think we did some real good work there, folks. We lowered the age on the housing program, which means all of my folks who are like 62 are going to beat me up later on because they're like, you just pop. So we still gonna do what we gonna do. All right. Questions? We got all the questions, comments, and concerns.
Nope. I still have one question, sir.
Councilmember Pio, go ahead.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Do we have a max on what we will pay a contractor for these roofs? Because at 205 estimated roofs, 6.8 million, that's about 33,000 per roof. Is there an estimate or is there a max that we can put on these contractors so they're not gouging us?
Well, we're not at the roof yet.
Yeah, it's not a bid. It's a bid process, so it's not. That's the way to avoid being gouged. But I think it came out to when I did the math, I thought it came out to like 18, and it used to be 13. But construction costs have gone up pretty dramatically in the pandemic. So hopefully that I hear that the plywood's going down a little bit. So hopefully we'll see that number go down. But I thought the number when I looked at it was closer to like 18.
We are allocating 5.827 plus another 1 million, correct?
We're not at roof yet.
We're not on the roof yet. This is rehab, general rehab.
I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one.
All right. It's all good. It's all good. So, but since you're here, we got questions. Are you satisfied with the answer to the question? Okay, cool. All right. Well, on that one, we need a motion in a second.
Move.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez, seconded by Vice President Lightfoot. And now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 417. Just a comment. Mayor Warren, President Scott, we've come a long way with this program. And it is a good distance that we have traveled. It is a fabulous program.
Yes.
And, all I can just say is thank you. I remember the first time we met with the community and our seniors begged for this program.
Mhm.
You know, so this is a real deal. This is some real work. You want to talk about government making a change in people's lives and making a positive impact. And in my mind, one of the most fabulous things about it is that we do not take into consideration the value of the house when we make the repair to the roof. There were some folks who said to us, well, you know, if the house is worth 15, why you gonna spend 15 fixing the roof? And the answer was because somebody's living in the house.
That's what they have.
You know, so this is a big deal. And I just want to commend the administration and previous councils for taking a leap of faith in doing this, and continuing councils for advocating and supporting it, and this administration for funding. So that's my question, comment, and concern. Do we have any others?
Councilman Paris, the only issue with the program is we can't put enough money in it.
Dude, there ain't enough money in the world.
We can't sustain it. You know what I'm saying?
There ain't enough money in the world. We'd have to like come up with our own currency, but we're still meeting the need. You know, Council Member Harris.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to the administration the same question I had. Make sure that the age appropriate for the seniors is added to this program as well, down to 55. So make sure that, you know, that program reflects that.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns on this item? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez, seconded by President Scott. And now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the item, please go away. No. Please say nay. I only did that because everybody said aye. Introductory pass.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
With there being no other business before this committee, we stand adjourned.
Late.
I will call the Parks and Public Works Committee to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Evans.
Here.
Councilmember Pio.
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot.
Present, ma'am.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
We'll start with introduction number 391, authorizing agreements and funding for the Aqueduct Reimagined and Riverfront Promenades project. I will take a moment of privilege just to share that I think we all know, council already had a brief conversation about this, how big this project is, big in so many different ways, big financially, big in terms of the actual infrastructure of our city. And I know that there are definitely some split opinions in the community about what is right or not right when it comes to the aqueduct. And there's been those conversations for decades. I think it's critically important that we move forward with this project as put in front of us, which is nothing more than a preliminary design, which will give us a sense of what the costs are, which will include a deep amount of public engagement and talk about historic preservation, talk about the traffic impact. And I really believe in the DES crew who put together the package for this, and they feel very good about Bergman coming in and doing the work. And I would just ask the community, anyone listening, and ask all of council to please ensure that you're sharing with people to get to some of these public forums. There will be a ton of public engagement around this project once this is passed. And I think if the community doesn't want it, so be it. If the community does want it, let's make sure it's designed right. So please help get the word out. And that's my pitch. And I will open it up to any questions, comments, or concerns from the rest of council.
No, I just wanted to say I think that this is a very important project for Rochester. And I hope that some of the people that weigh in on this are some people who we usually don't hear from. What often happens with community feedback and input it's sometimes the people who are the loudest that have the most voice. And, you know, this really gives us the opportunity to do something transformative in Rochester. This has been talked about for 50 years, and the stars are aligned for us really to be able to do something here and really transform Rochester. So I hope that people will support this. Like, as you said, Councilman Gruber, I totally agree. This is just a first phase in terms of it being designed. But this has been talked about, as you said, for 50 years. So I hope that the community will support this project. I am very supportive of this. And, I look forward to the design and further conversations.
Any additional comments? If not, I'll take a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 392, authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance of the state aid program eligible costs of a capital project and appropriating funds therefore in relation to the Aqueduct Reimagined Riverfront Promenade. Questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
Moved. Looking for a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 393, authorizing funding and agreements for the Main Street Streetscape and Pedestrian Wayfinding Phase 2 project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
It's been moved. Can I get a second?
Second.
And seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 394, authorizing a change in traffic flow on Bradford Street. Public hearing to be held at 5 p.m. after the November 4th, 2021 committee's meeting. Questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
The moved.
Second.
And seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 395, authorizing a change in traffic flow on Manila Street. Public hearing to be at 5 p.m. after the November 4th, 2021 committee's meeting. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion in a second.
Move it.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 396, authorizing the alteration of pavement widths relating to the milling and resurfacing project for Chestnut Street, East Broad Street to East Main Street, East Avenue, East Main Street to Alexander Street, North Goodman Street, Peck Street to Bay Street, and Clifford Avenue to City Line. A public hearing to be held at 5 p.m. after the November 4th, 2021 committee's meeting. I do just want to say a thank you to City DES, to A&E, and to everyone involved who continues to look for new creative ways to incorporate more bike lanes and bike and pedestrian infrastructure as part of these projects. And I think this is going to be really important stuff as we connect all the great work we've already done at the Inner Loop to other neighborhoods. Thank you for that. Any questions, comments, or concern on 396?
Oh, I got questions, comments, and concerns.
Go ahead, Councilmember Patterson.
So, Commissioner, if you can talk to us a little bit about North Goodman Street. Why are you decreasing pavement width on North Goodman Street? It is a major thoroughfare. It is the sections of North Goodman Street that you are looking at are predominantly residential, and a significant number of people park on the street.
Well, please allow me to get back to you on that, Councilperson Mike Patterson. But I'll give you the exact details why. But remember what we do when we change pavement widths, it's to accommodate bicycle lanes. It's to accommodate the actual trends on the traffic patterns that are going on these streets. It's also part of our traffic calming strategies. If the basically widths of the streets are wider and cars could try to squeeze through and sneak through small areas, these are opportunities where accidents occur. So what we do is making sure that we're following all the warrants and all the actual procedures from the proverbial traffic book or the book to make sure that we're meeting all of the measurements that are in place so that we are calming traffic and slowing vehicles down. Because what's happening on our streets is that people are sometimes exceeding the speed limits. So this is probably a traffic calming measurement. And what we will do is get back to you with the exact reason. But my assumption is that is why we're doing it. But I'll get back to you with the actual detail.
Well, let me be upfront and clear and in full disclosure here for y'all who don't know. I live on this section of North Goodman Street. And North Goodman Street between Norton and Northland is a nice, big, wide open run, and it is a freaking speedway. Now, speed bumps are obviously not an option. I get that. It's a major thoroughfare into and out of the city. I have had my own personal vehicle totaled by a drunk driver coming down that street. My neighbor has also. My son tends to park on the street. His car has been hit numerous times. We have numerous cars hit. We've had telephone poles run over. It is a quite challenging street. I understand the thinking by decreasing pavement width, but quite frankly, I don't see nobody going no slower because it's a straight shot from Norton to Northland. There, I can get around. I'm thoroughly in favor of some traffic bump outs around Perkins because we have a crossing there for the kids going over to number 39 school. That makes sense. But and losing more parking on the street really decreases the habitability and the livability of the neighborhood. So, throwing in a bike lane, I can understand the thinking for it, but I think sharrows serve us better than losing parking on the street. I would rather see some, milling and resurfacing. Yeah, I'm always in favor of that. But, I don't think pavement width changes with the distances that we have between stop signs are going to decrease speeds on that street. I think what that's going to do is lead to more cars getting hit on my street. So that's just my perspective and my concern from it. It is my hope that the chair would consider holding this item for some more conversation. But this is a major thoroughfare, man. I mean, there's a lot going on, and we literally have rush hour on North Goodman. It's going on right now.
Councilmember Patterson, I'm more than happy to hold the item specifically because I know that the folks from DES put a ton of time, thought, and energy into making each and every one of these decisions. And I'm confident that Commissioner Jones and his team will get an answer for you prior to Tuesday. So I'm happy to hold it for now. Commissioner Jones, is that okay with you?
Yes, but I just want to just respond back to Mr. Patterson. The traffic engineering community has detailed information and best practices that when you reduce the actual width of the street, you slow traffic down. I know that cars have been flipped, cars have been turned over. Just 2 weeks ago, a car flipped close to your house. And
in my driveway.
Well, Mike, I'm trying to help you out.
Right.
So I know, and we know that by reducing the actual width of the street, it slows traffic down. And if you want it to continue, keep the width the same way. East Main Street was a 5-lane highway that had a center lane and 2 passing lanes. And about 14 years ago, they changed the width of that street. It reduced the number of collisions there. University Avenue, when we did Art Walk, had 4 4 lanes, 2 in each direction, and a turning lane in the middle. We changed it to 1 lane. It reduced the number of accidents. It's tried and true. So, we will get back to you, but if you want to change the behavior, if you want to change what's going on that street, change the width of the street.
Commissioner Jones, I completely agree with you. I'm a huge proponent of the idea of road diets. They are really data driven. They are the best practices nationally, and I'm committed to moving this forward on Tuesday. But I'm more than happy to adhere to what Councilmember Patterson asked for, just so he has an opportunity to talk to you and your team a little bit deeper about it. And Mike, if that works for you, I'll hold it. But unless there's something really drastic, I'm planning on moving this forward on Tuesday.
Fair enough. I couldn't ask anything more than that.
Okay, so we'll move on to introduction number 397, a bond ordinance of the city of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $400,000 bonds of said city to finance the milling and resurfacing project for Brooks Avenue, Genesee Park Boulevard to Genesee Street, Jefferson Avenue, Champlain Street to West Main Street, and Thurston Road, Genesee Park Boulevard to Arnett Boulevard. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
It's been moved. Could use a second.
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 And seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 398, authorizing an agreement for the milling and resurfacing project for Brooks Avenue, Genesee Park Boulevard to Genesee Street, Jefferson Avenue, Champlain Street to West Main Street, and Thurston Road, Genesee Park Boulevard to Arnett Boulevard. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
It's been moved. Don't all jump at once.
Second.
And seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 399, appropriating funds and amending ordinance number 2021-241 relating to the 2023 Preventative Maintenance Group 1 project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion and a second.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 400, appropriating funds and amending ordinance number 2021-83 relating to the 2021 Preventative Maintenance Northwest Group 12 project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
It's been moved.
Second.
And
Second.
seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
And finally, instruction number 401, authorizing applications to and agreements with New York State for funding of water quality infrastructure improvements. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
It's been moved
Second.
Second.
and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
And that adjourns the Parks and Public Works Committee.
Madam President, can I just ask a quick question, something I should have covered during my committee? Can we ask Councilmember Melendez, would you like to be included in the vote on introductory number 381?
Sorry, just finding my mute button here.
Brother, you
Yes,
all right?
please.
Okay, I just wanted to cover that before we move to the next one because it was on the list.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll make that change. Thank you.
All right, all right. At this time, I'd like to call the Public Safety, Recreation, Human Service Committee to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Vice President Lightfoot,
Present.
Councilmember Gruber,
Here.
Councilmember Harris,
Here.
Councilmember Pio,
Here.
and President Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, introductory number 402, authorizing an agreement for athletic skill development and academic support services. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
Move it.
If it's been moved, can I get a second? Moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you. Introductory number 403, appropriating funds for the Mural Arts Project. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
Move it.
If not, it's been moved. Can I get a second? Been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 404, authorizing agreement and funding and amending the 2021-2022 budget for the Comprehensive Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
Move.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 405, authorizing a grant agreement and amending the 2021-2022 budget for the motor vehicle theft and insurance fraud prevention. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns? I'll entertain a motion.
Move it.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 406, appropriating funds and amending the 2021-2022 budget for the Office of Business Intelligence. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
I have a question.
Councilmember Gruber.
Thank you, Vice President. This is a significant amount of money. Obviously, it's something that we've really asked for a lot. Council through Executive Order 203 was to beef up the Office of Business Intelligence. I'm just wondering if someone from RPD can give a timeline of, this is mostly about hiring people, non-sworn, data analysts, et cetera. Any sense of a timeline of how long that will take?
Councilman, I'd like to refer.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Deputy Chief.
I just wanted to refer his question to Nick Petiti, our Director
Yes.
of Office of Business Intelligence. Nick?
Sorry, just finding the mute button. Afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
If this passes through this monthly vote, we would probably have the posting out by the middle of November, probably a month maybe at the most to get applicants in. Figuring the onboarding process would start somewhere mid-December, allowing for the holidays. The plan would be to try to have some people in some seats at the beginning of the year.
Great.
And then we have to start our onboarding process, basically.
And Nick, do you feel like this is the amount of funding that gives you the staff infrastructure to be able to really implement the data transparency that we asked for collectively in EO 203?
Yeah, I think it's I'm never going to say no to more staff, right? But I think it's a really healthy jump up. We're talking about 5 data analysts here who would be spending a majority of their focus, if not all of it, on standardizing, automating, and building out our data sets for self-service, both internally for increased efficiencies in the police department and for self-service to the public, right? Opening up the lines of communication for transparency, beefing up what's available in the open data portal, helping to look for potential efficiency gains in the FOIL process and the BWC units, those kind of things.
Thank you.
I just want to, Councilmember Lupien.
I would imagine that a lot of this work potentially would be, there would be more work up front and get, once some processes are in place, would there would there be a continued need for the 5 analysts, or would there, once things are set up, then maybe scale back? Just kind of wondering.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally the way that the technology is evolving and the more complex the data collection tools are becoming for law enforcement in particular, there is constantly new sets of data. And we have no shortage of antiquated data systems in the police department to kind of move from one to the next to the next. It'll be about prioritization of data sets, and we'll use Executive Order 203 and the Race Commission's recommendations to start to prioritize which ones we attack first. But I think there is a long-term goal here of really starting to digitize and open up a lot of our kind of antiquated silos of data.
Thank you. Will council be able to have an idea of what those priorities will be?
Sure.
That'd be great.
Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, here is another testimony of the hard work and dedication of this council, this administration, this mayor, to the Executive Order 203, the Race Commission report. Again, that many people, a lot of naysayers, that these reports were just things that we were going to just do and again, sit on someone's desk. And here we are again, implementing these recommendations. This is concerning transparency, which, this body has done some significant, amazing things around policing. Of course, we got a long way to go, but we've done some amazing things around policing in this community. And we're going to be talking about a little bit more of that as we get into the rest of our agenda this afternoon. But I just want to say commend again the administration, again, this council, because this is moving us in the right direction. We have some roadmaps with these reports, the Race Commission report, Executive Order 203, and of course our 2034 plan. We have some great roadmaps to help us to continue to move the needle forward. And I just commend everyone for the work on this. Any other questions, comments, and/or concerns? If not, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 407, authorizing the grant agreement and amending the 2021-2022 budget for the 2021 State Homeland Security Program. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 408, authorizing an agreement for electronic patient care reporting software license and support. I just, point of privilege, would like to ask the administration or from someone from the department there. My understanding that there is no cost to this particular reporting software system, and that it also aligns with our with what we need at this time. Is that correct?
The software itself is going to be free, but any interaction with the CAD system would have a cost to us. But that's going to happen with any type of program that we would move forward with anyways. So that's a constant cost. But this one in particular is free at the moment.
That's right, Chief. And this particular, thank you, Chief. And this particular software program actually aligns with what we actually need at this time. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. AMR, which is also uses the program, so it's going to work with us. That we're both using the same software, and which is going to make the integration easier for us to utilize.
Wonderful. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Vice President Lightfoot.
Councilmember Harris.
I have a question to
Absolutely.
the administration. This software, will you be able to use the software to grab data with this software? Will this be available for that process as well?
Chief?
Can you clarify what you're looking for when you say if it's going to grab data?
Well, it has data in there for patient report, patient care reports and stuff when it relates to patient care? And is that something that the fire department will be able to use to track maybe non-HIPAA related data that does not affect HIPAA?
Yeah, yes. In that respect, yes. And that's the purpose of making sure it interfaces with the CAD system. So we'll get all that data in there, and it's going to give us the ability to look at it and look at any trends or anything that we find valuable to use that information for. So yes. Yep.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Councilman Harris. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 409, appropriating federal forfeiture funds and amending the 2021-2022 budget in relation to investigating narcotics trafficking. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councilmember Lupien, possibly, maybe? I'm throwing you a softball. No? Anyone? Okay, I entertain a
Move to
motion.
adopt.
It's great.
Second that.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any
Nay.
abstentions?
One
Oh, oh,
nay.
oh, oh.
One nay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Introductory passes. I knew I had a nay out there. I was trying to find.
The
I didn't
clerk will enter
have
the
any
affirmative.
questions though, Will.
Okay.
Okay, the clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 4-1 into the record with Council Member Peel voting no.
No.
No,
No.
Screw, bro.
Sorry.
You about to start a riot. You about to start a riot.
North
I'm sorry.
open flames.
I think it was
I'm sorry.
Councilmember Gruber that said no.
Was it Gruber?
yes.
I believe
Okay,
so.
sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. All right. Introduction number 410, authorizing agreement to create a comprehensive language access plan for the Police Accountability Board. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I just want to say these next few items are Police Accountability Board related. And once again, this body, who has been depicted at times as being a barrier to the police accountability, and once again is doing its due diligence to make sure that they have all the necessary resources and tools to effectively provide police accountability services to this community. Any other questions, comments, and or concerns?
VP Lightfoot, just a comment.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, so I just want to commend the PAB for taking this step. It's critically important. I think we can do a lot more in the community and in the city to do language access plans across the board. And this is a vital asset to the PAB and moving forward. And I think engaging the right folks, the right experts locally in the process. So I just want to commend the work and thank everyone for putting this as part of the plan.
Thank you, Councilmember Melendez. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move it.
It's been
Second.
moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
All right, introductory number 412, authorizing an agreement to create an awareness and complaint-related communications implementation project for the Police Accountability Board. Any questions, comments, and or concerns? Entertain a motion.
Move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
All right, introductory number 413, authorizing agreement to create comprehensive program of onboard and training for the Police Accountability Board. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Entertain a motion.
Move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
And finally, introductory number 419, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the Rochester City School District related to overtime police services. I know this may be a little maybe someone may have some questions. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
Yeah, I do.
Councilmember Lupien.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can hold this. The city school board recently tabled the item until November 9th, which is their next meeting. They're doing a phone survey this week to parents asking their opinion, collecting the data, and then discussing it at that meeting. And there's also a community forum this Saturday, November 6th. So I think right now it's premature to pass this item.
I would defer to Madam President. I know you had some thoughts around that. Madam President?
Yes, my concern is that the school board meeting is on the same day as ours. If, depending on what action they take, if they move forward with this, we would need to have a special meeting and come back to act on this. Because if it is decided that that service is indeed desired and needed, we don't want to wait another month to get police service outside. We're talking about police services outside of the schools during the reporting and dismissal. So I would like for us to move with the understanding that even if we approve it, they cannot use it unless their board authorizes it. And I would not want us to have to wait another month in order to act on it.
Thank you, Madam President. Can we get some clarification from legal on that? Just to back that up. Is that the case? If we were to approve this through administration, and then the board did not approve this action, what happens with this particular piece of legislation to the administration, please? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, council member, for the opportunity. President Scott is entirely right. What this would do is just authorize the administration to enter into an IMA with the district if the district and the board were also to authorize such an IMA. So this is just a matter of authority for the administration, and then the administration has the ability to move ahead as soon as the board does. So even if the board continues to table things on November 9th, if 2 weeks later they move forward with it, we will be in a position to enter into that IMA. So
Hi, Tyra, how are you?
Just to follow up. Just to follow up. I'm sorry. Just to follow up to that, does this put us in any financial risk at all if not adopted on next Tuesday by the Rochester City School District Board?
That is a question I'm going to defer to police on. My understanding is we've been providing a police presence in the interim. I don't believe we've been doing that with OT, and we had agreed temporarily with the district that we would do that before we enter into an agreement. I think if the district did not move forward with this on the 9th, chances are we may not provide those services anymore, but that would be a question for RPD and for budget.
I have questions.
Okay, Councilmember, can we get that one question I just asked answered by either budget or police, please, before we move on to further questions, please?
We're not currently providing overtime services for the school district. We
Gotcha.
just respond. We just respond as 911 calls us.
So the answer is no.
No.
It does not put us in risk. Right. Okay. Councilmember, thank you. Councilmember Patterson.
All right. So I certainly understand Council President Scott's position. And normally I would just be like, yeah, let's vote this out and be done with this. But at the same time, I have some grave concerns. You know, our colleagues over at the school district approved a contract that has a value greater than the value of what we would be approving for an organization, a security organization, to drive around their schools and do some outside outreach around, just do some outside security around the building. And yet it seems as though the sentiment is that they do not want the police anywhere around the schools. Okay, all well and good, but they had to be well aware of our schedules and how we were going to be voting on items. and they've chosen to defer. I don't know why, and I'm not going to offer a judgment, but if you don't want the police, you don't want the police. If you do want the police, tell us that you want the police. We haven't heard anything from this organization saying, quite frankly, that they do. So I certainly get Council President Scott's position, and I am of two minds. First mind is, you know what? Vote it out, be done with it, leave it alone. If they want to do something with it, they do something with it. But the other side of it is, we all have responsibilities as leaders to make a decision and live with the consequence of our decision. I find it kind of challenging. You have told to decide what you're going to do. We don't poll to decide what we're going to do. We make decisions. I expect them to do the same thing in light of the situation in front of them. That, so what is it that we're really trying to do? Just some debate amongst ourselves, since we're here in public, nobody's watching.
Councilmember Patterson,
Madam Mayor.
May I speak?
Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I definitely understand, your sentiment, but I also think that the council president is right on what she's saying. We may not have heard from the school board members, but I can assure you that I've heard from parents as well as students that are terrified, and teachers that are terrified, that are looking for some type of relief and some type of support from the city of Rochester when it comes down to their safety. Just this past week, the School of the Arts, you had a parent that came up there and really assaulted another student. And so we have these situations going on all the time. And only thing that we're doing at this point in time is authorizing that we can look at, or for the school board to these services. It is completely up to them on whether they want to do that. But I remember when I believe I was in college when Stephanie Givens was murdered in front of Jefferson High School. And we have an opportunity to provide some relief and some services, knowing what is happening, not just at school buildings, but even in our streets. We know that we have 69 homicides and people are angry and all that. And we can try to do something to prevent certain things happening on school grounds if we have officers there. It will totally be up to the school board on whether they accept these services or not. But I think that what our goal is to say, we're ready, we're willing, and we're going to provide these services if you want them. If they don't want to accept that, that's fine, but that will be on them and not on us.
Just identify us. I'm sorry, I can only see a certain amount of people. Okay, Dr. Gruber, go ahead, sir.
Thanks. Vice President and President Scott, I just wonder, is there a chance that we could just hold this until Tuesday and make a commitment to have a conversation with both Superintendent Myers-Small and President White on Tuesday at some point to understand where they're at? I don't know. I totally understand the reason for wanting to vote on this. We don't have to wait a month, but we could hold it right now, see where they are on Tuesday morning, and make a vote Tuesday night.
When the legislation came forward, let me just answer this question, because the legislation came forward at the request of President White and Superintendent Leslie Myers-Small. We have had several meetings, and I believe we have another meeting on tomorrow about this. When the request came in from President White, he believed that he had the votes to proceed. Instead, it was tabled. He then emailed and called me about the fact that it was tabled. And I know that the superintendent is having a session on this Saturday. I don't think that waiting until Tuesday is a problem, but I can assure you that both President White and Superintendent Leslie Myers-Small are, in favor of of the support that the city would be able to provide. And this legislation came forward at their request. And after we agreed to do this is when there was a tabling of it on their side.
President White did reach out to me as well, that there was no withdrawal of the request. Rather, he assured that he was still certainly on board with that and would be trying to get a more support from the broader members.
Thank you, President Scott and other members of council for your comments. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about a meeting that I was in just this week with President Scott and Aquinas School and members of that community. I'm thinking about the outcry that they had for the help, and they're saying, "What is council? What are you guys prepared to do to help us?" We're seeing crime out. They have 3 or 4 schools within a mile area of their school, and they're terrified. People are scared. This community is, we're seeing violence like we've never seen before. And to Councilmember Patterson, to your point, I think that's exactly what we want to do this evening. We want to lead, and we're going to make a decision, and we're going to say, this is what we're prepared to do, and this is what we're capable of doing. And that at the end of the day, if the school district decides that they don't want to receive this help for public safety for their students and teachers and or surrounding communities, then they have to answer to their constituents later for that decision. But this body is saying, hey, we recognize, in my opinion, we're in a state of emergency. We're in an absolute state of emergency when it concerning violence within this community. And we have to declare that. We have to understand that this is real. We've lost double the amount of lives we've had last year. Okay, we're still not at the end of the year. All right, so I'm prepared to move this forward. If they choose not to accept this, then again, they're going to have to answer to their families, the parents, the people in this community of why they did not want to do something and receive more help to help them to have a safer environment and educational environment for our students. And so, Councilmember Lupien, go ahead.
Yeah, didn't mean to cut you off. I'm just really floored, I guess in general, because we as a community over the last 2 years have really gone through something. And the unwillingness to recognize that the pandemic and the fact that kids weren't in school and that all of our supports and the mental health of our community suffered, that is the cause of the violence. It isn't bail reform. It isn't less is more. It isn't the raise the age. And it's not questioning police in our community. It's the fact that these kids, and in the schools, it is these kids do not have the social and emotional support that they need, and teachers are burned out. And if we actually are serious about stopping the violence in schools, then we need to admit the problem. It's not the lack of police in the building. It's not the lack of police outside of the building. It's the lack of social and emotional support for our kids. It's the fact that they're being expected to just go back to school like nothing happened. And we've actually increased the amount of assessments that we're expecting them to pass, and that we need more adults with experience with children in our classrooms, and just pretending to this community that putting police outside of the buildings is going to make a difference, I think is disingenuous. And we as a body also have an opportunity to not turn kids who get into a fight, that might be disciplined, and just stick them in the school to prison pipeline. And so I would urge us to take that into consideration as well when making this decision.
I totally agree with what you're saying as far as it relates to the pandemic, the trauma and the impact that that's had mentally and psychologically on not just the children, on each and every one of us. All of us have been impacted and traumatically impacted by COVID-19. We've had deaths. Some of us have had it, our survivors, et cetera. So there's been an impact on this entire community, on this entire world, internationally. Okay, and so, but at this particular time and point in need, and what this body is capable and able to do at this point, this is a step to assist. Right now, those other underlining issues, much deeper systemic issues that you're talking about, that are also addressed in the Race Commission around education, we have to continue to implement and work towards. I agree with you on those things. But right now, I believe that this is a tool, just a tool. But I agree we have to get to more of the root of dealing with some of these systemic issues. And I think the Race Commission report under education, I think, deals with some of that. And we're going to have to continue to push to implement some of those recommendations that get to the root of the problem. But at this point, I think we have to do our due diligence. And I think this is a tool, not the tool, a tool to assist in the efforts right now in our community. As asked for this, superintendent, the president of the school board, as well as our president, and I'm prepared to move forward.
Well, I have some more comments on that.
Go ahead, go for it.
So, Councilmember Lupien, I hear you, and I don't think anybody disagrees with anything that you're saying. I just don't think that's germane to the discussion of the issue at hand. You know, I hear you, Madam Mayor, and I hear you, President Scott, and I hear you, Vice President Lightfoot, and yet my issue and my deep concern is that though the superintendent and the president of the school board have asked us to do this, the larger body is opposed to it. So I don't think it's unreasonable for a body that has expressed opposition to this proposed legislation to make a clear declarative statement that they are in favor of it. And if they have a process that they're going through and they should have an answer by Monday, I don't think it's unreasonable to wait until Tuesday to hear what their clear declarative statement as a body is. Because if the voice of the president of the school board and the superintendent were enough to carry the issue, it would have carried, and it did not.
I didn't hear that from Madam President, and I didn't hear that from Madam Mayor that the whole body declined that. It was tabled. I didn't hear that. Is that what?
So
how
let
did you
me.
know that?
So Vice President Lightfoot,
Yes.
I understand what Councilmember Patterson is saying. I definitely understand exactly what Councilmember Lupien is saying, and I don't disagree with her. What I think is the biggest concern here, and the reason why there were a lot of incidences happening outside of the school building, school grounds, and the school district felt that having a police presence outside would alleviate those things. And I can say that I believe that during that period of time that we did have officers assigned to those schools outside in a vehicle, we did not have the incidences that we had before. Now, you know, sometimes just the threat is enough. And I think that in this particular case, that was the case. You know, I do, you know, when the school board president came to the city about this issue, he had spoken to his colleagues, and he had the feeling that they were going to support moving this forward. Unfortunately, that is not the case. They wanted to table it for a period of time. And so that's where we're at right now. What I think the council president and I are saying is that if the school board decides to move this forward, we don't want to have to wait until the month of December to start to actually put this into practice. And so if the school board decides that they want to move forward, and it's in between the next council meeting where you would vote on this, that would be almost a month before we would be able to enter into that agreement. or actually exercise this particular item because council hasn't passed it yet. So what we're saying is that in anticipation of rather they do or rather they don't, if they do, we want to be able to execute quickly. If they don't, then that's on them. That's all that we're saying.
A comment. And my comment is, and I do not disagree with, so I want to be very clear. I'm actually in favor of moving this item forward. It's an issue of public safety, and it's an issue of public safety in our community. And I don't see, quite frankly, why anybody would be opposed to having an officer outside of the building for basically 2 hours a day, an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. I get it, it makes sense, because if something does go down for that extra security company that they have no problem paying, all they're going to do is call 911. So it's going to be the cops coming. So I'm actually in favor of this concept. I get everything you're saying. My issue and my concern is that the other body, its membership, has not chosen to exercise the leadership that we do as a matter of course. All I'm asking is that we hold it till Tuesday. And if between now and then 4 of them, 4 can say, yeah, this makes sense, let's do it. I just need 4 of them to say it. We pass it on Tuesday. But look, we got to stop playing games. We got to get on the page. We got to move together. And if we, and Mary, I get your point. And I get it. You're probably opposed and you're going to vote no. I totally understand where you're coming from. I'm not taking shots at you. But there's another organization that needs our help and support. We are willing to provide it. And it doesn't look like there are 4 of them there who are willing to stand up and say, yeah, let's do this. And whether we pass it or not, if they don't approve it, it ain't going to happen. And it's time to just do the right thing. And I need them to step up. All I'm asking is that we hold it till Tuesday.
Now that I can swallow that, Councilmember Patterson, as Councilmember Gruber did earlier and said, I definitely plan to move this on Tuesday. I will hold this item until Tuesday.
Thank you, sir.
All right. If there's no other business to come before the Public Safety, Recreation, Human Service Committee, we are adjourned.
VP,
I
just
did have
have
something.
one.
Sorry, I had a question about that, the legislation.
Go ahead.
Just real quick, it's just we're approving that the city school district would reimburse us for any overtime pay, right? If we were to put any officers out there. So if they don't ask for it, we don't spend it, right?
I'm sorry. We're actually approving a intermunicipal agreement with the city school district to provide officers on overtime.
Right. So it's just an agreement. So we can always agree to it. And if they never actually implement it or use it, no harm, no foul, correct?
Correct.
That's correct. That question was asked, Councilmember Pio, and answered earlier. I wanted to know if there was any financial risk to this, if they decided not to go forward with the agreement. And my understanding is that there was not.
Right. I think I just got lost in all the other conversation. It seemed like we got off course there.
Yeah. Well, people are passionate about this, and I get it. But we'll hold it till Tuesday, and we'll bring it out on Tuesday.
So VP, just one quick comment as well.
Councilmember Melendez.
So I don't want to lose something that Mary said, which is, I recognize that we're a separate body. Districts will do what they do, but the idea that mental health is a huge, huge issue right now with our young people and what they're going through, and we have all these federal ARPA dollars. I'm wondering if there's a conversation in addition to the policing conversation that we should be having with the district about how do we make sure that we can do whatever we can do on our end to support mental health services and encourage the use of those dollars to really push in the classrooms and provide those supports at the district level, because ultimately what happens in the school eventually comes back home to the neighborhood, and we need to make sure that these things are all connected. And I feel like there's an opportunity here with ARPA funds. And again, I can't spend their money, right? But just to encourage that as we look at public safety, we include that in the conversation.
Councilmember Melendez,
Melendez, we are doing that. That is the meeting that we're having tomorrow. It is going to be with Commissioner Torres and her team, to do some joint, training and some other things as it pertains to the Pathways to Peace, the Office of Neighborhood Safety, as well as the Person in Crisis team. So that is not off the table. That is additional support that we are providing that is going to be in the school. We're having that discussion with them. We've had it the last couple of weeks. We're going to have a specific discussion on what next steps would be. As I said, on Saturday, the superintendent is having her call of action as well. So everything that you all are talking about is definitely being discussed by the superintendent and her team, as well as my team. This is just, as I believe Vice President Lightfoot already said, one tool in the toolbox. It has to be a multifaceted approach. It has to be all hands on deck. And we have to work collectively together to get it done on behalf of the students and the families, as well as the teachers and our community. And part of that is to deal with what I believe Councilmember Lupien was saying, this mental health issues and concerns that are going on right now at a rapid pace in our community, and we're doing that.
Can I also lift up, I think Councilman Pio has something else, but before he speaks, I just don't want us, I agree with everything that's been said, but let me just, make sure that we don't overstep and realize that we have a resource in the Race Commission report. A lot of work was done around mental health. There was a whole committee on mental health. There's a whole committee on education. That has been exhausted. So we don't have to go and create a new conversation or create or study something or figure it out. Like we have already exhausted a lot of money, energy, time, resources on that topic. I think it's just, part of the conversation should be to look at the recommendations, see if they align with the direction that could be helpful in this particular area of the Race Commission report. We're already putting ARPA dollars towards Race Commission report. We can continue that pattern, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We went out and did the work is done, and we just have to implement what we said we were going to do, and what people have put their time, energy, and what this community has had input on and want. So I just want to lift that up. That Race Commission report, mental health section, education section is there, but see, it was the county and city. The Rochester City School District was really not, and that was one of my complaints. Dr. Gruber can tell you, I wanted all people at the table, and that was the reason why. Because systems, the structural institutional racism things that are happening on all systems. All players need to be at the table. So when these conversations happen, and we realize that our powers are limited with our body, but they could take on from there. And so we have to be advocates for that report and the recommendations in that report, and as well as others. And I think that that's the page that we need to get on, because that's the work that we pay for and we had community input on, and that we approve.
Amen, VP. That's exactly. Yep.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna give you an amen and say I think that us carrying the water to the district to say, look, the solutions are here. How are you going to support them? Is what I would propose, that either as a body, or I'm happy to also do it myself. But I think we should be pushing in that direction, because you're right. We do have a lot of things documented, a lot of suggestions, ideas, and I think we're in the phase of, as you said the other day, implement. We need to get there with everyone on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pio?
Yeah, just real quick, I want to make sure, I got to say this. We have to make sure the county also brings their responsibility to the table here. There are other school districts that were back to school. It's just our kids that were held out of school for 18 months. A lot of other schools were back to school. My son was back to school last year. So if we're talking about kids not being in school for the past 18 months and blaming it on COVID, we have to hold the county responsible and use their ARPA dollars, not our ARPA dollars. We didn't stop the schools from opening up. The county did. So that's what I would bring up if I were at that meeting tomorrow personally.
All right,
Just another quick comment.
Councilmember Patterson, yes.
This is a very rich discussion, but you all know that we do have a public hearing and a number of items on that.
It is not related to the particular item that we're discussing.
Well, yeah, and this is related to the particular item. So, look, we're talking about mental health. Well, I just lift up and commend Commissioner Lyman Torres, because on Monday, she's got a full day mental health first aid training. I believe a lot of council members got the invite to it. If you didn't, I don't know, but all of that to say, look, she's training a big bulk of her staff who are public facing on mental health first aid. The question then becomes, well, what other organizations are out here who are public facing? Are their staff going through it? For the rest of our city staff who are public facing, are they getting that training? Is RPD getting that training? Is the Rochester Fire Department getting that training? It doesn't make you a mental health professional, but it's a first aid course, just like you would take any other first aid course. Mental health is a huge problem, but we're doing that work. And, and I just want to commend Commissioner Lyman Torres on that, but at the same time ask, if she's dealing with the kids in the afternoon and she sees a need to do this work, what is the school district doing in that venue to do that work also? It's all related together, but it also goes back to leadership.
I'm gonna at this point, thank you, Councilman Patterson. At this point, I'm gonna yield to Madam President.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of territory and, we've all made some really good points, but I do feel the need to move on. We're going to take action on this item one way or the other. You're going to hold it or whatever the action is. We need to do that and adjourn this meeting and
we
go
did
into
that already.
our public hearings.
We did that already. I held it till Tuesday and I adjourned the meeting.
Oh, did you? I missed that part.
I already did all that. Yeah, well, okay, how about this? This item is going to be held until Tuesday, Madam President and colleagues. And if there's no other business to come before the Public Safety, Recreation, and Human Service Committee, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you so much. Now, is our public hearing on this same link?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we will just take a minute for those who are exiting to do so, and then call our public hearing to order. Okay. We will have the public hearing that precedes the council meeting for the month of November. We'll start now. I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Evans.
Here.
Councilmember Gruber.
Here.
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Lupian.
Here.
Councilmember Melendez.
Councilmember Harris is here. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Councilmember Patterson.
Here.
Councilmember Pio.
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot.
Present, ma'am.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you. Madam President, did you want to read the script or would you like me just to go on into the hearing?
Just go into the hearing, please.
Okay. Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter. Amending the zoning map by changing the zoning classification of 35 Shelbourne Road and 20 Elmerston Road. Introductory number 388. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
My name is Ro Fallon of Helen Road, Rochester, New York, 14623. Our business, Red Creek Capital, owns two properties that are directly impacted by the proposed rezoning of 35 Shelbourne Road and 20 Elmerston Road. As submitted earlier, we are concerned with the additional traffic that will be added by the business being proposed. We feel that there should be some features added, speed bumps or redirecting of traffic so that Shelbourne is not used as a thoroughfare between the hospital and Mount Hope. There's a playground halfway down Shelbourne. Also, the previous business that occupied the proposed site did not operate 24/7. Has there been consideration to limit the hours that this business will be allowed to operate? Thank you.
This comment is from Tanya Lytle. I read an article that the Row Photo site was a former gas station location. Is this area considered a brownfield site? If so, how does this affect the area residents?
From John August, the ownership of Mount Hope Plaza has reviewed the application to rezone Shelbourne Road and 20 Elmerston Road and strenuously objects to this application. The rezoning of this property will add considerable additional traffic onto an already congested intersection for those entering and exiting onto Shelbourne Road. This intern exit point will conflict with our entry exit point onto Shelbourne and cause significant additional traffic at the mouth of this intersection with Mount Hope Plaza. Additionally, this rezone will open up possibility of more rezoning to turn this residential neighborhood into a commercial corridor. We have experience with Taco Bell and know they're used to utilizing later hours of drive-through traffic than most other quick service restaurants, and would be concerned about the impact to residents in the neighborhood during peak hours and after 8 p.m. For those reasons, we have spoken with our attorneys and strongly request that this application be turned down and this intensive use be located in an existing commercial district that is zoned properly for their use. Sincerely, Justin and Nancy Gastel, owners of Mount Hope Plaza, and John August, property manager of Mount Hope Plaza.
Those are all the comments for that item.
Given that there are no additional comments on this item, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter. Amending the zoning map by changing the zoning classification of 36 Council Street, introductory number 389. Any person desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. We did not receive any comments for that hearing.
As there are no speakers, that hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter. Authorizing a change in traffic flow on Bradford Street, introductory number 394. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
This comment is from Maxine Brown. I am Maxine Brown, and I live on the corner of Bradford and Avenue D. I appreciate the City Council for taking the time to read my concern and to review my reasons for Bradford Street to be a one-way street headed north. I've lived in my house for 32 years. It was me, my husband, and 2 children. My husband passed away and my kids are grown and moved out. I stayed in my home because I know my deceased husband, who worked hard keeping the house up, would want me to continue living in this house, and my house is paid for. It's paid for because I took out a loan for $10,000 and paid our house off. I still owe the $10,000 to the bank. This is one reason I'm happy living in my home. But since we've been living here, our fence has been knocked down on both sides of Avenue D and Bradford Street 8 times. Out of those 8 times, our house has been hit 3 times. Every time we've been hit, all of the cars came in from Avenue D to Bradford Street. Making Bradford Street one way would be a blessing to me and my family. I can't afford to live anywhere else as I'm disabled and low income. Every time my house gets hit, I lose money because when the contractor fixes my house, it is not better than it was worse. The contractors rip me off. They shorten my porch, put cheap board up. It's just not the same. They estimate $6,000 and take the material back and get some of the money back they estimated it for. The 7th time it was hit, a police car and another car rammed into my porch. I had beautiful white, wide stairs going out toward the end of the steps, and my gate was fancy with aluminum flowers, but all of that is gone. Please make Bradford a one-way right away. Thank you very much.
There are no more speakers for that hearing.
That hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing the change in traffic. I don't know if it should be flow, I guess. Manila Street, introductory number 395. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. There are no comments for that hearing.
If there are no speakers, this hearing is closed.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: authorizing the alteration of pavement widths relating to the milling and resurfacing project for Chestnut Street, East Broad Street to East Main Street, East Avenue, East Main Street to Alexander Street, North Goodman Street, Peck Street to Bay Street, and Clifford Avenue to City Line. Introductory number 396. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. There are no comments for this hearing.
This is the part where I would normally run down from the podium and run over to the microphone, but I've already spoken to it. Thank you very much.
Okay. If there are no other speakers, that hearing is closed.
That's the last public hearing, Madam President.
Thank you. That concludes the public hearings. The legislation for these hearings will be voted on at City Council meeting on Tuesday, November 9th at 7:30 p.m. It'll be streamed live on your YouTube channel as well as on City Channel 12. We thank you. We are adjourned.